Okay, so today I'm going to talk about the article I read, which is called Education in the Gikuyu People and how education works in this African tribe. This article is very interesting. It focuses a lot on the comparisons between the African education and the European education. Before we get to that, we're going to learn about the African education. So first things first, the beginning. Education starts at birth and ends with death. I think we think that in European and American ways of life we are constantly being educated, but these people are incredibly thorough in their education their entire life. They are constantly learning. Children are required to pass through different stages in education. Each age group has a different responsibility to learn something new, and what they need to learn is very specific for that age group. Parents take responsibility for the child's education. These parents don't send their kids to schools. They actually have their kids at home learning with them. And education happens in the home. So let's get started. Focuses of their education is a person that spends his entire life learning about the proper way to act in society. The main thing that they're looking for in this education is teaching social aspects to these children. We'll find out later more about this in the PowerPoint. Main focus is on concrete things rather than abstract ideas. A lot of times in a European education we will learn like about history or science and about abstract things that we won't ever really use, whereas these people are learning things they will be using their entire life. All education is relative to a social ladder divided by age groups. Like I said earlier, every age group has something else to learn, so let's start from the beginning. Infants. Infants are completely educated by their mother, and they're taught using lullabies or songs. These songs have morals and values instilled in them. They also have laws and things of the things about the family instilled in them. And a lot of times, there's a lot of overlying songs that all mothers use, but a lot of times they make up their own. And the child is free to listen to whichever songs he wants. So the next one is when they're toddlers and they can talk, the mother questions them. They don't put any pressure on these children. They ask them questions like, what is your age group? What is your father's name? What is your grandfather's names? What are their age groups? You know, things like that. And there's no pressure. It's just kind of to gauge and start the child off in the learning process. Once the child enters early childhood, the article doesn't really give any dates, but I'm calling early childhood from about 4 to maybe 8 or 9. The education takes form of games. They play a lot of games, but they don't play games the same way that American children do. We play games for fun. We do it to get away from stress and such, whereas these children are playing in incredibly realistic ways. The girls are playing house, but the boys will join them and act as a father does in their house. And they learn not because the adults tell them, but because they watch. Like it says, games strongly resemble real life. Both parents take equal part, but they kind of just stand and watch. They kind of put in a little bit, but a lot of times it's the children that are doing their own educating at this point. Adolescence, again, there's no defining age, but I'm giving it from the age of about 9 to 14. For the boys, the father takes over the majority of his education, while the girls, with the mothers, help little. Well, the girls are completely educated by their mothers, and we'll see this. In adolescence, for the boys, they are, all of them, no matter what their father's craft is taken out to learn how to work in a garden. He's given tools, and they learn by hands-on experience, which is very different than here. A lot of times we learn how to do something and ideas, but we don't actually do it for a long time afterwards. The boy is also trained in his father's craft, so if the father's a carpenter, the boy is trained to be a carpenter. They're taught to be incredibly observant and have immaculate memories. There's an example in text about how a son is expected to pass a test in which the elders of the tribe will take a herd of 100 sheep, and they will take out a couple of them and hide them, and they'll put the sheep back in this field and the boy will go out and he has to know every sheep by name, and he has to figure out which ones are missing and which ones he has to go find. And it's amazing that they can actually do it. With girls, they learn the same agricultural training as boys. They work in the garden with their mother. However, they learn by doing. They're also taught domestic duties of being a mother, cleaning, cooking, things like that. In both, their mother teaches them laws, customs, and etiquette at night. The mother will. It's kind of, they continue with the questioning. There's a little bit more seriousness to it at this point. They learn about everything. They learn about health, how to act in society, things like that. And like this says, they don't do a lot of their parents standing there telling them what to do and how to do it. They do learn a lot by just observing how their parents act and how other adults act, which is very different than in America, I think. Important landmarks in their later education. Circumcision is one that this article emphasizes greatly in boys and girls. I'm going to focus on the guys, though. With circumcision, it's a step that is taken by boys to become men. And the step isn't allowed to be taken until the elders consider the boy ready. There are some boys who never get circumcised and therefore are not considered men in this society. They aren't eligible to be warriors. They aren't eligible to take wives who are circumcised. There's a lot of restrictions on boys who don't get circumcised. Next important landmark in education is marriage. A lot of preparation goes into being married for these people. I think we kind of, the requirement for being married here is, do you love the person? Yes, then you can get married. In Africa, or in this tribe at least, there's a lot of preparation. They have to learn how they're going to treat their spouse. They have to learn about sexual intercourse. They have to learn about how they're going to treat their kids. They just have to learn everything about it before they are actually deemed qualified to be married. And there's even a lot of tributing going on, with a lot of dowries being given and such. Becoming an elder with the boys is a huge step. Men can't actually become elders until they have kids who are ready to be circumcised. Before that, they are pre-elders, and they're still constantly learning from their elders. And even when they are full elders, they're still learning from the leaders of the tribe. They're still helping and teaching their own kids, you know. Another important landmark for girls is conception and giving birth. They have to learn about everything that goes into giving birth before they are even allowed to think about having kids. They have to understand all their responsibilities as a mother afterwards, after having the child and everything they're going to have to do. I found it really interesting that they also have to learn how to treat strangers with respect, but worry and anxiousness at the same time. There's a whole set of matters that they have to learn before they're allowed to do pretty much anything. So yeah, I'll keep going. Okay, so now we're getting into the contrast area, and I'll try and make this fast because it's getting kind of long, but the European emphasizes the individual, whereas the African emphasizes the relationships the individual has with others. The article talks a lot about how kids in this tribe completely understand that when they see someone who needs help, whether it's building a house or herding the sheep or anything, they see someone, they go and help because that's what their parents did. People who don't give help don't receive it, and everyone is just kind of willing to help out because they're just good people, and they understand, they value these virtues so much more than anything else, and it's a very large part of their education. So they work a lot on relationships with other people, with their family, with their spouses, with complete strangers even. However, Europeans kind of emphasize the individual, what we want, what we need, what we are going to do when we're older. It's kind of all about us, and we don't focus a lot on the relationships. I found that interesting. Problems with implementing a European education in Africa. The European teachers may live among the tribes, but they don't know them. I found this a very interesting way of putting it. I'm pretty sure that the person that wrote this article was raised in this tribe, this Gikuyu Tribe, and they talk about how Europeans, no matter how good their intent is, no matter what, they simply cannot completely comprehend the mind of an African. They weren't born there. They don't have the same type of influences. It's just not the same. Going along that line, they give an analogy. saying you can pour new wine into a new wine bottle but not into an old wine bottle. They compare Europeans going to Africa and teaching these African children to pouring new wine into an old wine bottle. This old wine bottle has already had another type of wine in it. It's already been influenced in its own way, and it's already learning even if it's not in school. And these Europeans think that they can come in and teach all these European ideals, but it just doesn't work. The author of the article makes a very good point at the end when he says he says that it's almost absurd to be a European in Africa, so why would you give an African a European education? I thought that was a really good point. I think there's one more slide. Nope, that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this slideshow, and yeah, thank you.